never understand the things that we want. Why do you keep coming back? I want love, you don't.
You know, what's funny is, this is first and foremost a fashion channel. We talk about outfits, how to mix and match colors. Sometimes we might even sprinkle in a little grooming or skincare. Basically anything that's to do with looking and feeling your best self. But surprisingly, my most requested topic so far, on a consistent basis since I first started this channel about 2 years ago, has been a video on my tattoos. So here we go. I've been a little reluctant to make this video, to say the least, because my tattoos are very personal to me, and showing them on my skin is one thing, but actually talking about them to you and just putting myself out there feels like I'm kind of getting naked in front of you and revealing all of my secrets. But fuck it, let's do it anyways. Okay, so first off, let's start with how many I actually have. And the funny thing is, I'm not actually 100% sure because I've never really taken the time to count them properly, so. Okay, so if I counted properly, I have 22 tattoos as of today. That is a lot. I didn't realize I had that many, but can't wait to get more. You know, people often ask me, do you have any regrets about your tattoos? Or do you think about what it's gonna be like when you're older? And yeah, I do, and I'm gonna look like a badass grandpa with long white hair and tattoos. As far as the regret part, to be truthful, there are maybe 1 or 2 tattoos that I've thought about lasering off. Actually, no, probably only just 1. And yeah, it sucks because it is a long, painful, and expensive process, but it is possible. And even if it wasn't, the regret isn't so bad that I wouldn't be able to live with it should I not be able to get it lasered or covered up. Okay, so since there are 22 tattoos, and I just don't think we're gonna be able to dive into each one without this being a 30-minute long video. Plus, although I am okay talking about most of them, there are a few that I don't feel very comfortable sharing the meaning behind. So instead, we're gonna do a list of categories. We're gonna go over my first tattoo, my biggest tattoo, my smallest tattoo, my most painful tattoo, my least painful tattoo, my most meaningful one, my least meaningful one, my most recent tattoo, and finally my favorite tattoo. Okay, so let's start with my first tattoo. I got my first tattoo when I was 19 years old, and it was on my upper back. Basically, I got 3 Japanese characters in kanji, which technically are logographic Chinese characters that are used in the Japanese writing system, along with hiragana and katakana. And the 3 characters say live, laugh, love. I told you it was basic. Yeah, I did that. And I have no shame in it. I was definitely in my YOLO carpe diem phase. You only live once, you gotta make the most of it and live in the present moment, which is all great. And yeah, I decided to get that corny tattoo. Anyways, let's move on to my biggest tattoo. And for my biggest, I'm actually not sure which one is the biggest because it depends on how you count them. But let's go with the most obvious one first, which is also on my back, right next to my first tattoo, even though I got it done much, much later. I have a very big mandala right in the center of my back. And to be honest, it's not that deep. It's mostly for ornamental reasons. I found this tattoo artist in Paris whose work I really, really enjoyed. She made great tattoos, very beautiful geometric tattoos. I'll put her link in the description, by the way. I'll put links to all of my tattoo artists in the description. That way, if you want to check them out, you can go there. And I noticed that she made these beautiful mandalas in her designs. I like the complexity of mandalas, like everything just seems connected and it just represents that interconnectedness of life. There's just so many intricate details in a well done mandala. And I love the idea of having this beautiful back piece that has a lot of details, and it's just like the closer you get and the more you can appreciate every detail and see it in its full complexity. So basically we had a 2-hour session first where we discussed kind of the direction that I wanted to take with the design, and then I just let her do her thing, and I wanted her to have like as much creative freedom as possible to make the design hers. And yeah, I'm proud to have her art tattooed on my back. And one of the main reasons behind the placement of that tattoo is that I like the idea of creating something so beautiful, but not necessarily to have it seen by the eyes of others or even by myself. And then I have another big tattoo on my left leg. The reason I was hesitating between which one was the biggest is because technically I think this one covers a larger surface of skin, but it's like a million of different tattoos interconnected together to form one big tattoo. So I'm not sure like how you count that as well. If it's just one tattoo or if it's like 15 different small tattoos. So the story behind this tattoo, it's actually one of my favorite tattoos by far. And it represents all of the different cities that I've ever lived in. If you've been following this channel for a while, or maybe you've watched some of my Q&As here and there, I've had the opportunity of traveling a lot while growing up because my mother works for the government and she would need to travel every 3 years. We would move countries, we would pack our bags and go. So basically, ever since I was born, I've been just moving around countries every 3 years. So I had the opportunity to, live in many different places, and I wanted that to be reflected on one of my tattoos. So I found this artist in Paris as well, actually in the same studio where she used to work at, the person who tattooed my back. And I loved the style of this guy. He has this very, very particular eclectic style where it's almost like a street graffiti-like style. He takes like dozens of different elements that you want to get tattooed and connects them into like a crazy world, and nothing really makes sense. Like you get some elements that are way bigger than others, like a cloud that's like bigger than a city, and a huge ladder to like climb off of a building and then jump into. Like, it's a crazy, crazy world. And like, I love where his mind goes with his tattoos. Like, I've never seen anyone tattoo like this guy. So basically I went to the studio and talked to him and asked him if he wanted to tattoo my whole left leg. And I think I was probably one of the first people to ask him to do like a 360 kind of design where it kind of wraps around the whole leg instead of just one plain surface. And I told him that I wanted to get elements of each different city that I've lived in to create one giant crazy world with all sorts of cool stuff happening. And he was super into it. And now he's basically like my go-to guy for life for this tattoo, because I'm gonna keep traveling to different places. Like now I was in Australia last year, now I'm living in London. I haven't gotten those cities tattooed yet, so I wanna get those on as well. So every couple of years, I'm gonna go back to this guy and ask him to add more elements. Right now my tattoo starts from the ankle and it goes all the way up to the knee, but I still have all the upper leg left. So yeah, a lot of space for the tattoo to be continued. So at the bottom of the leg, you have all the little fishies and the crab, and that represents my time living in Taiwan, because it's this one small island of a country, and the sea life there was one of the things that marked me the most. So I wanted to use those elements to represent parts of my experience there. And as it goes up, you actually have one of the biggest monuments there, which is Taipei 101. And then that kind of merges into some famous buildings in Paris, in the neighborhood of Montmartre. And then you have this little ski thing that you take to go up the mountains when you're skiing. And it brings you all the way from Paris to Japan, to Tokyo, which is one of the first countries that I've lived in for the first 6 years of my life. You have the Mount Fuji, and then you have the cherry blossoms here on that little island. And moving on to the back of the leg, at the bottom, you actually have a beach and you have some palm trees, which represent Uruguay. I lived in Montevideo for 3 years. And then going up, you have a city in the skies. You can see the clouds there. And that's because it represents Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador and one of the highest cities in terms of altitude in the world. It's at 2,800 meters, which I'm not sure how much that is in miles, but it's very, very high up there. Now I just have to add Australia and the UK to my leg, and then we'll see what happens and what else I'm gonna add in the future. As for my smallest tattoo, I have a tiny little keyhole near my hip area, and I don't really want to talk about the meaning behind this tattoo, but that is by far my smallest tattoo. My most painful tattoo, I would say, has got to be either the stomach or the ribs. So I have like 3 small tattoos which constitute one tattoo, I would say. On my upper abs, I don't really have abs anymore, as you can see. And then I have this very small poem on my ribs. And that is definitely one of my most painful tattoos. I remember in the moment, it wasn't even that long. It was maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour long max, just because I had such a hard time breathing that I was kind of moving a little bit, so we had to go slow. But gosh, it was painful. The poem is a little poem by Francis Scott Fitzgerald, the guy who wrote The Great Gatsby. And it says, "It was only a sunny smile, and little it cost in the giving, but in the morning light it scattered the night and made the day worth living." It's a cute little poem that I really liked, because for me it symbolizes the importance of the small things and how you can give a simple smile to a stranger passing by in the street that you may not know, and it costs so little, it requires so little effort of you, and it can really make an impact on someone's day in a meaningful way and make his day that little bit better and even your day better, because giving makes you happier. That's actually been scientifically proven that you actually get more joy and your happiness level increase more by giving something good to someone else than by you doing something good for yourself. As for the one on my stomach, gosh, it was painful as well. Like, the pain levels of these two were, how can I describe them? I would say a tattoo on a place like the arm or the shoulder kind of feels like maybe a cat scratching you pretty hard on your skin. You feel it, it's a bit painful, but it's not crazy. But I don't know what it is about this area right here. Maybe it's because you have your vital organs or something and they need to be protected. So the pain is that much more intense because it's kind of telling your body that, yo, you gotta be careful out there. But I would describe the pain of the stomach and ribs area more like, almost like a knife, just like a sharp object kind of digging into your skin and scrapping it, which, yeah, it's not super comfortable. So what this one represents, as you can see, there are three elements to it. You have a brain, the DNA symbol, and a heart. So that for me represents the mind, the body, and the heart. The reason I got this tattoo is I've been a dancer for a long time now, about 10 years, and I used to go to this dance camp in Poland called the Fair Play. There's a ton of great, amazing dancers there, some of the best teachers in the world, the best choreographers in the world. And I had this one choreographer talk about the importance of dancing, not just with your body, with your physical movements, which is the obvious one, but also with your mind and your heart. And that a truly great dancer manages to connect all three elements, mind, body, and heart, fuse them into one and fuse that into his dance to make something beautiful. And I actually think that this is something that can be applied in other areas of your life, not just dance. You can also use that in decision making, for example, where you could say that in order to make a proper decision, in order to make the right decision when you're debating between various options and you don't know which one is the right one to make, instead of just thinking logically, or instead of just thinking emotionally, think with all three elements: mind, heart, and body, which is the logic, the emotion, and what you feel in your gut. So think logically, does this make sense? And then think emotionally, like, does this feel right? Does this feel like the right thing to do? And then what do you feel in your gut? Like, what is your gut telling you? What is that sixth sense innate feeling that you have telling you? And then you put all three together, and only if the answer to all three questions is yes, then you make that decision. I would say my least painful tattoo, easily the one on my shoulder. This is actually a mix of like black and gray and watercolor. So most of the watercolor is actually in multiple colors, but this one I wanted it to be black and gray like all my other tattoos. And this one also has to do with dance. I promise these are my only two tattoos that are related to dance, but it's related to something that one of my favorite dancers said once. I was at his workshop and he's an amazing freestyler. For the dancers out there, his name is Paradox. And he used the following comparison. When you're dancing, imagine that the space around you is your canvas, your body is the paintbrush, and your soul is the paint. That really changed the way that I saw and interpreted dance, and more specifically, freestyling, which is not the same as choreography. And I'm not gonna go too deep into that because I'm guessing a lot of you don't dance and I don't want you to get bored by what I'm saying. But it really impacted the way I see dance, and it was also my least painful tattoo. Definitely, if you're looking to get a first tattoo and you're scared about the pain levels and your pain tolerance, I would definitely recommend the shoulder. Honestly, you almost don't feel a thing. You can be on your phone, be on your laptop, doing something else, having a conversation with someone at the same time. It'll go by like this. On to my most meaningful tattoo. So my most meaningful tattoo, I would say, is the one that I have on my chest that I carry on my heart. And it is a combination of the Libra symbol of the zodiac signs and the Aquarius symbol, because my mom is a Libra and I'm an Aquarius. For me, I really wanted to get that tattoo because my only family is my mom. My parents got divorced when I was 3, and I only lived with my mother basically all my life from 6 years old to 18, and then I lived by myself. But my mom is the one who raised me. I almost never saw my dad. We weren't even in the same country. And I don't have any brothers or sisters. don't have any uncles or grandparents. Like, unfortunately, all of my grandparents passed away when I was very young. She's my only family, so I wanted to get that represented and I wanted to get that tattooed somewhere on my body. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have my least meaningful tattoo. All my tattoos don't mean something, by the way. Like, I would say maybe 80 to 90% do. Some are just there because I wanted them there. Either because I had a space between two tattoos that I wanted to fill up, or just maybe a certain design from an artist that I really liked and I wanted to get that art on my body. So my least meaningful is probably this rose on my arm. To be completely honest, I had an empty space between this black swan and this arrow right here. I wanted to fill it up, and yeah, I got a rose. And by the way, that's not to take anything away from roses. I know a lot of people can get a rose tattooed and attribute a very deep meaning to it. Everyone can choose the meaning that they want to attribute to a certain tattoo. There's not one meaning for roses or one meaning for arrows or whatever. Like, you know the reason why you're getting a tattoo, and it's up to you to choose how you want to symbolize something in your life and how you want to represent that in a tattoo form. This particular rose, I had no super meaningful reason behind it. I just wanted a rose there. My most recent tattoo is this one on my right forearm. So let me show it to you here. So you're not gonna be able to read it because I think, first of all, in the camera, you might be seeing it in reverse. And also you gotta read it like this way. It's kind of hard to show it to you this way. But basically it says the word perfect with the two E's reversed. And that's a very important part of the tattoo. What this tattoo symbolizes to me is that nothing is ever perfect. And not only is it almost impossible to achieve perfection, perfection is subjective. Something that looks perfect to you, something that is perfect for you, might not be for someone else. It might be the complete opposite of perfection for someone else. Most of my life, I've been leaning towards the side of the control freak, of the perfectionist. And in recent years, I've learned that perfection is subjective and that you're better off getting something done rather than getting it perfect. You're going to achieve far better results in your life in whatever domain and whatever you're trying to achieve by getting things done than trying to get them perfect, than by spending hours and hours or days or months trying to get something the way that you envisioned it and you think is going to look perfect. You would probably produce something better, something of a higher quality, something more beautiful, something more impactful by simply doing that thing more. By doing and failing and doing and failing and doing and failing. And by the 7th, 8th, 16th, 72nd time, you're gonna get a better result than by just focusing all of your time on doing it once. So this tattoo for me is a reminder to not be a perfectionist and to get shit done. And finally, my favorite tattoo. And by the way, this was very hard to choose. I did not think I had a favorite tattoo until today, until I really put some time to think about which one is the most meaningful to me. Well, no, actually not necessarily the most meaningful, just my favorite one that I align with the most aesthetically, meaning-wise, and that the placement on the body and just, I love everything about it. And it is this tattoo on my forearm here, this circle. So this is called an enso, which basically means circle in Japanese. And it is a creative practice in Japanese ink painting. So it's something that you draw in one fluid stroke. You don't go over it 10 times, you just draw it once and then you leave it be. And for me, that's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is that once you draw it, you cannot change it. You can't go back and redo it because you want it to show the intention and the character of the person who drew it in that very brief and continuous period of time. And I just love the simplicity of the aesthetic of it. It represents everything that is wabi-sabi, which is another Japanese term, which basically is about the beauty in the imperfection, which ironically kind of relates to the other tattoo that I just talked about, the word perfect with the E's reversed. And there are two ways that the enso can be drawn. It can be fully closed in one big loop, which in that case would represent perfection. Or it can be left open like it is here, in which case it symbolizes the beauty of imperfection. And another interpretation of it, which is fully my own, this is just me interpreting it the way I want it to, is that life works in circles. I truly believe that whatever goes around comes around. And I don't believe necessarily in karma. I don't necessarily think that there's a higher spiritual force that if you do something good, it's going to outweigh the bad and something else that's good is going to happen. I just think that the way life works and along the lines of the butterfly effect, like if you do good, if you do the right thing over and over, like if you just take the right decisions and do good things will happen to you. I truly believe that. Call it karma, call it whatever you want, but I do think that life works in circles. And that's why I always try to do the right thing, because good things, positivity breeds more good things, more positivity, more positive energy, and more positive outcomes. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about tattoos, whether about mine or about just tattoos in general, feel free to ask in the comments and let me know. Do you guys want me to make more content about tattoos? I mean, obviously it's not the core focus of the channel. That has been and will always be fashion. But hey, I love tattoos, obviously. I enjoy talking about them. So if you guys would like me to sprinkle in a bit of tattoo content here and there, every 3 months or so, I don't know how many times a year, but if you guys want me to, just let me know. Give me some topic ideas, some video suggestions in the comments. What would you guys like to know about tattoos? And maybe I'll make a video on it. All right, I wish you an amazing day, my friends, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. Oh, too far. It's too far. No more tea.